Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
Are you trying to say that Abby has flipped out?
This is episode 238, recorded April 4th, 2025.
Gruesome Magazine.
It was the body language that made it work.
Yeah.
I am your host, Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-hosts, Chad Hunt, Bill Mulligan, and Gregory Crosby. And I will tackle another classic, or not so classic film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. With me this week is my co-host, Chad Hunt. How you doing, Chad?
I'm good. Did you really just have to look down and read our names?
No, I had to decide who to pick instead of me. I should probably change that, but if I change it, it'll miss. And never mind. Anyway,
it's my fault. I threw Jeff off. It's my fault. So
and then Chad Hunt's almost Chad is also a comic book artist and writer.
Why don't I come back when you're ready?
Okay? And co-host of Decades of Horror. All of them.
Yeah.
Glad you're here, Chad.
I'm glad I'm here too. I'm not sure I'm here.
Also,
whatever reality this is, I'm glad to be in it.
Well, as a matter of fact, there are a lot of realities. You just have to figure out where you are in the knot. Never mind. I watched Dark.
Anyway,
I remember my first acid trip.
Somebody work a Dark reference into the show.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
Also with us is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and a published author.
Oh! I think it's Possessed. Oh my gosh!
That could be.
Ooh,
it's doing the shark
yeah.
swim.
It's Bill Mulligan in the 3D published
by Rum from Amazon.com. RAUM. Ask for it by name, but don't say it too many times.
He's an all-around nice guy. How you doing,
Thank
Bill?
you. I'm doing fine.
Okay. Also with us is Gregory Crosby, who will be with us for a few episodes at least. I don't know how to introduce you, Gregory.
Poet, published author, devastatingly handsome bon vivant. I don't know, whatever you want to say, Jeff.
Yeah, there you go. Master of
the DNA test says
master of sartorial splendor. Only not necessarily today, but
no, it's because it's Friday and I was not teaching today. You should also point out that I'm impressionists do a lot of impressions of me. They're big fans. Chad Hunt, in particular, loves to do an impression of me. So perhaps
he's got the accent down pat.
Yeah. So perhaps
people have told me
our listener will enjoy that later today.
People have told me, Chad, you sound just like him.
I know it's uncanny. It's uncanny.
His impression
like,
of Gregory kills on open mic night.
Yeah, literally.
All right.
He's going to drop in the front row.
Decades of Horror and Gruesome Magazine partner with Play Now Media on several of their channels. And in fact, Decades of Horror, the 1970s, is on the Wicked Horror TV channel. So if you subscribe to that and pay the fee, which will get you all their content without ads, we have a promo code for you. DOH70, DOH, all caps, 70, and that will get you 20% off your first payment. So if you sign up for the monthly plan, which is $6.99 a month, you'll get $1.40 off the first month. If you sign up for the annual plan, which is $50 for a year, you'll get $10 off. So, hey, you might as well do that. I mean, for $40, that's like what, $3 something a month? $3 something.
It's cheaper than your Starbucks.
It is.
That's for sure.
And if you sign up this week, you also will get access to the other channel, the Wicked Horror Movie Channel, which is only horror movies set in Boston. None of which I can think of at the moment.
What? Anyway,
are there any horror movies set in Boston? Now I'm going to be like.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
I can't think of any. I can't think of any Boston horror movies unless it's just big.
Well, that will be my assignment.
It's a great channel, Wicked Horror channel.
So Wicked Horror TV channel also has the other 2 Decades of Horrors on it too. So besides that, they got lots of cool stuff. I watch it frequently. Okay. So what we do here is we pick a movie to talk about. We give a few details of that movie. Then we do first impressions and taglines for this movie, things that they thought marketing would get butts in the seats. And then we move on down the road, talk about different personnel and any kind of information that we have. So,
and we spoil the crap out of it. But
yes, we do.
It's been like nearly 50 years, so that's older than most people. Not us, but most people.
Yeah, the latest movie we're going to cover is going to be 46 years old. So, 46 to 56, which is older than us.
Yeah.
Okay. Our movie today is Abby.
Wait a minute. What?
It's the missing link.
1974. Now, those of you that follow Decades of Horror and Gruesome magazine know that William Girdler holds a special place in our heart. He was the Black Saint, Santos Ellen Jr.'s favorite director. His favorite movie was The Manitou. But Abby has long been almost kind of a holy grail because there aren't really any excellent prints out there of it, and still aren't, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
But we decided to pull the trigger and check it out anyway. So this is kind of a big deal for us. And that there is William Marshall, and I don't know. Do you think that's Carol Speed with the makeup on, or
that is definitely Carol Speed with the makeup, and this is clearly a behind the scenes shot.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it looks kind of like him and his ventriloquist dummy as William Marshall. But anyway,
today on Sesame Street, the letter of the day is B.
For Beelzebub.
All right, directed by William Girdler. Written, the screenplay was by Gordon Cornell Layne, and I think he was credited as G. Cornell Layne, from a story by Mr. Layne and William Girdler. The cast includes William Marshall, Carol Speed, Terry Carter, Austin Stoker, Juanita Moore, and Charles Kissinger. Production companies are American International Pictures, AIP, and Mid-America Pictures, and it said something about in conjunction with Hollywood West Entertainment. Filming locations, Marengo Cave in Indiana, and so I guess he didn't actually go to Africa for the filming, and Louisville, Kentucky. It was filmed in 1974, and the release date was Christmas 1974.
Naturally.
Now, when we get into these semi-independent movies, the numbers get really fuzzy. So first off, I found a place that said $200,000 for the budget. Another place said $400,000. And then on Wikipedia, it said that the budget was reported at an inflated figure of $472,529, and it was really much more like $100,000. So somewhere between $100,000 and $472,000. Now, as far as box office, $4 million in the first month, I saw. And then on Ultimate Movie Rankings, it said 6.1 million. And someplace else, and I don't remember where I got it, said 2.6 million in rentals, which kind of evens out with the other numbers. Rentals is what the theater pays to the distributor.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Not the ticket price. So this
it made a profit.
Decent, right?
Yeah.
Synopsis: a marriage counselor becomes possessed by a demon of sexuality when her father-in-law, an archaeologist and an exorcist, accidentally frees it while in Africa. I don't know what was accidentally opened Pandora's box. I mean,
yeah.
Put it back in again.
So
Yosemite Sam joke.
So this is my pick. So I'm gonna go first, and I don't think I'm gonna say too much, but I was digging around on the internet and found a version of this on Plex, which is a free service with ads that I thought looked better than what I had seen before. And now there's still some. It's not. I wouldn't even call it good, but it's watchable, I thought. And we'll hear from the other guys what they thought. But so I enjoyed having the chance to watch this. William Marshall was awesome, and I kind of had fun with Carol Speed as Abby. I thought she did a great job being hysterical and crazy and possessed and stuff. A lot of it is, it's like a lot of these low budget ones, something's off, and I don't know if it's the editing or the dialogue or the acting or something. There's a couple of weird scenes in the bar where they focus on these two guys in the bar. They're just kind of looking at each other like they don't know what the hell to do, but they're still shooting them. Anyway, I think, between Carol Speed and William Marshall, they're the ones that kind of make this. And I'm glad I watched it. And I also think we have to think of this in terms of where it fits in William Girdler's progression. His first two movies were Asylum of Satan and Three on a Meat Hook. There's no stretch of the imagination would you call them good. And then he pops up with this, and there was another blaxploitation. I think The Get Man or The Zebra Killer was another title. They came out just 2 years later. I could see a lot of progress between those first two movies and Abby. And then he moves on to Sheba Baby, Day of the Animals, Grizzly, and Manitou. And each one of those seems to me like he really picks up on the appearance and the quality of the film. But anyway, I enjoyed this in terms of that, and to see why Warner Brothers threw such a big fit. I think it was Warner Brothers, wasn't it? That was mad about them. You copied The Exorcist. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to let my buddy Chad, Superman, go next. What did you think of Abby? Had you seen it before?
Well, I thought I had seen it before, but once I started watching it, I must have been something else, maybe Blackula or something. And but I thought I saw it, but as I got into it, I was like, "Hey, this is terrible." Yeah, I like Girdler's films, all the ones I've seen so far, but this one, man. And it could have been partly the quality of the print on this, because it's scratchy, it's scratchy, grainy. It's a horrible copy. But I guess beggars can't be choosers, because we waited a long time to do this movie and not had a chance. But having said that, Mr. Marshall, I love him. I think he's a great actor, and he played a great Dracula character. He's a bit over dramatic, like that, but so is Christopher Lee. He's like, he reminded me of Christopher Lee a lot. But in this, he doesn't have really anything to work with script wise. I don't think, and it just sort of hampers him, and it looks like all the other people were just go down to the high school and see who wants to be in this Exorcist film. I mean, not Exorcist, but Abby. Yes, but a lot of it just seems amateurish and silly in some spots. Maybe if I'd have seen it early, I'd have an appreciation for it, but I can only watch it with the eyes I watched it with now, and I really don't like it. I really don't. I'll never watch this movie again. I don't know. I just
Oh, geez, I watched it 3 times, I think.
Oh, well,
I figured.
and then he ordered the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Which there isn't.
Yes.
Yeah,
But I gave it a shot anyway. All right, that's it.
Yep. Could have called it Flabby for all I care.
Flabby.
Mr. Gregory Crosby next. Had you
So
seen this before?
a few years ago, I think it was Anthology Film Archives here in New York. They did a blaxploitation horror series, and Abby was part of it. And I suspect that it was probably the same terrible 16 millimeter print that somehow found its way onto Plex that they showed. Unfortunately, even though I knew Abby was very rare and difficult to see, I decided to see Sugar Hill instead that weekend.
Yeah.
It was also
Good choice.
part of that. So I saw this for the first time a couple days ago. Well, a week ago. And this the most charitable. This is a very, very, very bad script, in which I think, as Jeff pointed, Carol Speed and William Marshall are doing the best they can. The principals, I think, are all doing the best they can. And it's one of those movies where it's such a mixed bag, because all of the scenes of Abby being possessed and slowly turning into this hideous person, thanks to the demon that has possessed her, and bewildering her husband and her, her friends, are kind of fun and disturbing and definitely comic in a way that is sometimes I think actually sometimes it's kind of intentional and sometimes not. But all of the scenes around, all of the scenes of Abby being possessed by a demon are kind of death. The opening should go in the Exposition Hall of Fame with all of those aforementioned, hey kids, you go to high school? You ever been in a movie? Doing their best to try to give the context, the backstory for the movie. It's a terrible script, and it is not serving William Marshall or Carol Speed or the other principals very well at all. And it really, as fun as a lot of the, oh my God, what's happening to Abby scenes are, and there's one really, I think, really great, disturbing, effective scene that I love and we'll talk about at some point in our discussion. That last third of this movie just drags horribly. The whole search for Abby in the last third, and then the final exorcism scene, which absolutely felt like they were literally making this up as they were shooting it. The way it was.
I love the Exorcist scene.
the whole like, oh, you're not even. I don't even think you are issue. I think you're a lower demon. I'm going to call on an African god, or maybe Jesus. I don't know. I'm just going to call on whoever I can to try to drive the demon out of you. It really as much fun as some of the early scenes are, it pretty much falls apart in the classic third act problems, as they say. That said, I enjoyed it. I enjoy the fact that it was a terrible print. It gave it a nice 42nd Street grindhouse feel. Sitting there, I kind of felt like, oh well, I could be sitting in a theater in 1975. Watching a print that's been shredded because it did make money, right? So yeah, I'm glad I saw it finally. But yeah, compared to, it's very difficult. If you watch all of Girdler's films in order, you can see the progression Jeff was talking about. But it would be very difficult if you threw this on somebody and then had them watch Grizzly and say, did the same person make these films? Mm-hmm. Because I'm not sure that person would agree with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm glad I saw it finally.
All righty. And last but not least, Bill Mulligan.
It's such a loss that we lost him, because I would love to read some good interviews with him about what's the story behind each film, because it really does feel like this is not the same guy. Asylum of Satan, this movie. I'm thinking $100,000, maybe that's an exaggeration. The budget seems really small, other than the casting of William Marshall, for whom the word gravitas was created. He is so compelling. And yes, he does have that Shakespearean thing, but that's okay. It just draws you to him. He's so good, and he is so believable that he would talk that way. There's some actors who are just able to get away with that. And that what would be flamboyantly over the top for anyone else works for a Richard Burton or a William Marshall. But the script has to be worthy of it, and this is a pretty bad script. And it makes it worse that when William Marshall is being so cool, and everyone else, through no fault of their own, just are not able to make gold out of the straw of this screenplay, it makes them look even worse. There's just not a lot there. It's not that memorable. I've been searching for this film for a long time, and you know, a lot of times you think there's a reason why you can't find this film. If it was really, really good, it probably would have turned up by now. The print is awful, and I'm hesitant to criticize it as much as I want to, because there have been films that I didn't think very much of, and I saw crappy prints as bad as this, and then one day later when I saw them again with a decent print, I had a whole new respect and enjoyment of the film, and that may well be here, but I kind of doubt it, because the flaws in the film are going to be there even if I can see what's going on and the grain isn't there. And you know, this is a cheap film. Now, did Warner Brothers have a leg to stand on? I don't really think so. I didn't feel like this was a ripoff of The Exorcist much at all, other than the basic premise that someone's being possessed. There, you know, it's like when they were suing every shark movie that came out. I mean, hey, in our movie, a shark ate someone. In your movie too, it's like, yeah, that's what happens in shark movies.
He never once calls on the power of Christ. Yeah.
No, and boy, what a lost opportunity, because the fact that they're using, you know, not just a black cast, but to use like Blackula is great. And one of the things that makes it great is the whole premise is that Blackula, before he becomes a vampire, is like trying to get Count Dracula, a real jerk, to stop the slave trade. Okay, so there's a reason why we have black actors in this movie. It's not just that we're filming, you know, taking a script and just casting everyone black. There's a connection to Africa, to the African American experience and all. They could have done that with this, because here they have an African spirit, a trickster. That's kind of cool. And they toy with it. And apparently William Marshall was not too happy with the script, because he was told that there would be changes. And I imagine that's what, you know, I think he was really into, you know, African theology. That would have been interesting. That would have really been interesting. And it would have not hurt the film at all. It's not that people wouldn't go see it if you had a little bit extra in there. But I just get the feeling this was done. Hey, we need a movie. We need it fast. Here's a cool idea. Great. You've got a week. It just has that feel to it. And that opening scene, I was saying before, it feels like they realized the movie didn't have enough time. So quick, everyone, let's get the band together. Someone grab a microphone and let's film this scene out there. And it's terrible. It really kind of sets the film off in a.
They had to give him the cross too.
Yeah. I mean, there is some payoff and everything.
He could have. Anyway.
There's a million ways they could have done that scene, and they picked the wrong one.
Yeah.
And it really, you know, to that point about this notion of using African mythology, you know, in the film, it would have been really interesting to actually see the tension between Christianity and African religion in dealing with this African demon, because of you know, the fact that William Marshall's character is both an anthropologist, but also a man of faith, right? And that Abby's husband is a pastor, right? Mm-hmm. It would have been really interesting to sort of be like, well, geez, Christian God can't do anything about this, but if we fall back on, you know, the African gods whose responsibility is, according to the stories, to rein in issue or that sort of thing, that could have been really exploited in a way that would have been really interesting. And instead, it feels like sort of Frankenstein together in kind of a mess, especially in that exorcism scene. So.
Well, I don't know. I like the exorcist scene for no other reason than William Marshall was front and center. And I dug his regalness, even like he's changing his clothes and putting on his robes, and we're like, Jesus, hurry up, you know. But he's just very methodical. I don't know. It just seemed regal to me.
And I thought the editing was sometimes kind of interesting. I mean, it was clear. It was the kind of editing where we don't have a budget. We really can't show what we'd like. So we're going to do it with some kind of fancy editing stuff. But I appreciate that. I appreciate the skill involved there. So there were some elements I liked about it. Overall, this has been such a film that I knew existed and could not find for the life of me, even a bad print, that I'm glad we did it. I'm glad it's available. I hope one day they can maybe have something a little closer to what you would have seen if you saw it in its 2-week run. And maybe it wouldn't be a whole lot different. I don't know. But that's always the risk when you find these films. I've been waiting my whole life to see this movie. Well, yeah. Now put a check mark next to it, but I don't know that I'll be revisiting it anytime soon.
I don't forget.
You can't say anything because you were going to order the Blu-ray.
Oh, I would have if there was one, but I knew there wasn't one.
They have the nerve to release a slop print like this on Blu-ray.
But you can really see if you do watch them. If you watch 3 on a Meat Hook or even Asylum of Satan, which are both kind of on the same level, and then go to like Day of the Animals or Grizzly, you could see this as a bridge, I think.
Yeah.
And the fact that he made 8 movies or 9 movies in like 6 or 7 years.
And he was getting better, and he did have, and he was willing to,
and he was getting better actors in each time too.
He was willing to
better budgets,
beyond his grasp. Maybe Manitou is such a crazy movie and such a crazy premise, and really needed a budget 2 or 3 times what they had. But for what they had, they pulled off a really, really fun film. Grizzly, lots of fun. Again, it takes balls to make a movie called Grizzly when you really don't have a good grizzly.
And then you don't have a $1 million animatronic bear.
Right. You go to Stan Winston and he gives you a quote and you're like, "Whoa, that's 10 times the cost of the entire film." And it worked. It made a lot of money. He did have the ability to make money. This made many times its budget. Probably would have made more if they hadn't had to yank it. So the guy did have his finger on the pulse. He's just one of those great what ifs.
Well,
would he have kept on going? Would he have kept that trajectory, which was definitely going up?
William Girdler in the 80s would have been a very interesting thing to see.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was some interesting information, and I forget where it was, but it wasn't listed as a fact, but it was speculation that Warner Brothers had destroyed all the 35 millimeter prints. But
wouldn't put it past them.
Did Warner Brothers go after every Exorcist ripoff? Because it seems to me that there were plenty of Exorcist ripoffs in the 70s.
Yeah, there were.
I can't imagine Warner Brothers going after all of them. And it gives me pause to think, maybe they went after this one because it's independent, low budget production that they could easily, intimidate, bully, bully, exactly.
I don't know.
I feel like Beyond the Door and even what we did, the one that we did, Antichrist and everything, were closer to. I don't think any of them deserve to be.
Which, by the way, if you let Abby play out on Plex, it scrolled right into Beyond the Door.
Well, there you go. Double feature, kids.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, now I think it's time for something. What do we call that thing? Oh, yeah.
That was the time
called.
Are you our real daddy?
Taglines with Chad.
What'd you do with the real Jeff? He knows all this stuff.
Fortunately, there's only 3.
Yeah, quit your belly aching. You're getting off easy on this one.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't read this with a straight face.
Nobody said you had to read it with a straight face.
When do you ever read taglines with a straight face, Chad?
Yeah.
Well, I've never usually I read them and I wince. Now I'm reading these and I want to laugh.
Do it in the voice of Gregory Crosby, if that makes it easier.
The devil took her for his lover. Her body is possessed. Her soul is next.
I say that all the time.
Yep. If people close their eyes, they probably think Gregory just jumped in and started doing the taglines.
Entirely possible.
It's an impeccable, impression. The story of a woman possessed.
Wow.
Okay, that sounded more like Barney Fife. I'm not quite sure where that came from.
Every once in a while, he channels Sammy Castle.
Yeah.
So.
Oh wow, yeah.
Abby doesn't need a man anymore. The devil is her lover now.
That was Barney Fife.
Yeah.
I know, that kind of sounded more like Flip Wilson's Geraldine for a second.
Oh well, okay.
Oh well, that's appropriate.
The devil made me do it.
There you go.
Well,
These are not terrible taglines, by the way. Really, they're not.
No, I've read a lot worse.
and that's been Taglines with Chad.
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
I wish she would have wrote something in those lyrics about how handsome I am. You know, as well.
It's
She did,
sort
but
of
she kept
implied,
laughing after she said it, so she had to edit
I
that
think it's
out.
sort of implied.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, give me my 20. Bill came up with the first insult on that joke.
Here's the poster.
Now I gotta say, and when Anthology Film Archives had their big blaxploitation horror series, they had this original poster in the lobby.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I remember seeing this and thinking, like, that looks great.
I think this is a great poster.
I think
It's solid.
that's
The
one of the reasons they got 4
on
million.
it, but I knew I had some. I suspected Sugar Hill was going to be better, and it was.
Yeah.
It's got
No,
that old
this is a
70s
great
design.
poster.
Of the,
She's scary looking. That
She
image,
is scary
that image really, I think, outlived the film. Because I remember there was a scene in that parody film, I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, where
right.
the girls, PMS and everything. And I think they were thinking about this, this scene.
Yeah.
And that really was the selling point, that she's kind of scary. You know, when I saw this poster, I thought, it kind of reminds me of the scene in Blackula, where, you know, the woman's running in slow motion and everything, the crazy hair and the eyes, and that's a scary look. And hey, it's got the Exorcist, William Marshall, and yeah. But I didn't actually see this in the theater, but I did see the poster. I don't know where, but I saw the poster.
Well, and in case you're confused, the characters are labeled: the husband, the brother, his friend,
her friend,
the Exorcist.
Yeah.
And the rest are here.
So I added a couple more, Bill.
Oh, cool.
Because I kind of dug them. I don't know where this comes from, but it's kind of cool.
Well, this looks like Italian, is it not?
May well be.
Yeah.
Wow, that is cool.
Il diavolo ora il suo amante.
Oh yeah. I didn't even read any of the words. There's words on there, isn't there?
Yes.
Oh, that's a cool poster.
It is.
Hold her down, guys, even though she
and
threw you across the bar with her.
As opposed to a lot of Italian posters, that's actually in the movie.
Yes. True.
They didn't change that at all. And then these are a couple of sort of lobby card type designs.
Nice.
And Mexican Seduction Diabolica.
I like lobby cards. If you had the chance to actually walk down 42nd Street during the time when there was the Grindhouse experience, some of the lobby cards and everything, some of the ballyhoo that they had out there was great. You know, cardboard cutouts. I would love to have some of those. I'm sure every single one of those been destroyed.
That picture that I put on the detailed information slide, that was cut out of a lobby card. So there was,
and actually the best graphics you can get for Abby are probably going to be publicity material, because there are no good screenshots out there. I tried.
So then it was issued on DVD, but they obviously wasn't great quality. But this was the first one, I believe, the Black Exorcist edition.
Now, is it true this was originally going to be called the Blaxorcist?
You know what? I think I had some AKAs on here.
Isn't that a Sammy Castle movie too?
Yeah, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous enough to be absolutely true.
That was the working title, according to
Blaxorcist. See, now that would get you sued. I get that. Even though
and then there was, and then Possess My Soul was one.
That's good.
And then in Italy, which we just read, Abby, La Storia di una donna posseduta, the story of a possessed woman. And then the Mexican that we just showed was Diabolical Seduction.
That's true. It's a great image. Honestly, every scene in which the demon is doing his thing in Abby's body, those are all the best scenes in this movie.
The voice is pretty good. The
voice is very good, and Carol Speed is very convincing. Speaking, I'm sure that voice was dubbed in, but while I was watching it, it felt very, as they say, organic.
Mhm.
It did not feel like it was just a dub thing. And she was just great. She was great at carrying. Carol Speed was great at being possessed.
It sounded like the ghost of Huggy Bear to me.
Now wait a minute. No, it didn't.
I wouldn't go. No, I wouldn't go that far. That
Didn't sound
the
like
demon
Huggy
did not.
Bear.
The demon did not sound like Antonio Vargas. Lest we
Oh,
forget
man.
Huggy Bear.
Okay, there was a. And this is another DVD. These are, I believe, these are around 2007. That was a double feature, demonic double feature. Magdalena, possessed by the devil. Have you ever seen that, Bill?
I have
Or
not.
I
have not. That yeah.
it definitely
never
seems
heard
to
of
be
that one.
pushing the sexploitation a little
Sure
bit.
are. I do like sometimes the randomness. Okay, so naked woman on the left, get that. Demon on the right, perfectly fine. What's happening in that middle picture? Is she throwing up, or
Yeah, that's,
I can't really tell. It just sort of like
She
just
probably
stick a
just she
picture
probably
in there.
just read the script. So
Probably.
It does
So,
look like
you know,
there's
by the
like
way,
a
the
tentacle
voice-
or something coming out. Yeah,
You talk
It's
about
like
the
a
voice.
microphone.
That was Bob Holt who did the voice, and
Oh, the
he
demon?
did. Yeah, he did a
Great.
lot of voice work, but he's probably most famous. Anyone remember Chad will the horrible Marvel animated
Oh, yeah.
Shrek from the 60s, the Marvel
Oh, I
superhero.
remember that. The one where they would just animate.
They would just cut up some valuable Jack Kirby
Yeah, and then they
scenes,
just sort of moved it around.
and kind of moved it around. Well,
Yeah.
he was the voice of the Incredible Hulk.
Oh.
So
I
he
have
did
them all
the-
on DVD.
Yeah, they're terrible, but
They're horrible.
they're terrible. But then you're like, this is a terrible version of the Kree Skrull War or something. It's like they took some of the greatest 60s Marvel stuff. And
No, it's
anyway, he's the Hulk, and he's very unglamorous.
What is it also? Why are demons always possessing women? You ever notice there's nobody ever asked to exercise a demon out of a dude?
Because some dudes, if a demon got into, imagine if a demon got into Harvey Weinstein or Bill Cosby, it'd be like, let me out.
Yeah, they're already. Yeah, there's already. They'd be like, there's already a demon in there going like, I'm sorry, there's no room. You're gonna have to like.
There's a script. Hey, Chad, let's do that movie where a demon possesses some guy who's so god awful that the demon is the one calling for help.
That's a good idea. Let's do it.
Great idea. There we go. I think that would be a fascinating. I can't think. I'm probably wrong, but I can't think of any movies offhand that are built around a demon possessing a man as opposed to possessing a woman or a child.
yeah.
Just saying.
I know there is, but
Well, there's one in the Bible, but yeah, I'm trying to think a movie.
Hey, faithful listeners, true believers, if you can think of a movie in which a demon possesses a man and it's like the actual focus of the story, please leave a comment.
And they're probably going to send us a movie that is so freaking obvious. Like the title is Man Possessed by Demon, and we've already covered it on Decades of Horror. And we're like,
These old dudes.
we're old.
well, Bill pulled this too, which is sort of a. I guess you need to book this film because look all the money it made.
Yeah, they used to do this a lot. See, I loved we would get the New York Times and stuff, and for a while there, the film section was great. All the ads and stuff, and they would put a lot of these things in there. It's like, is this supposed to get me into the theater? I guess it's making a lot of money, so it must be okay.
Look at all these theaters that
They got $28,000 at the Town Theater in Baltimore, Maryland. Those people know what's good.
I wonder where the Penthouse Theater was.
I don't know.
Also, imagine getting that present under your tree with Abby's face.
I know.
Yeah.
Under your tree, like, oh, wow.
There's
Well,
your
Mr.
Christmas. Yeah,
X
imagine that.
exhibitor.
Imagine that marketing campaign. Yeah.
That's great.
But also some of these it says asterisk for all-time house record. Well, this Center 2 Theater in Milwaukee, 17,000 was the all-time record.
Yeah, well,
May have been a
tells you
new.
something.
It's probably a new theater. Anyway,
First 5-day figures. Yeah, that is impressive.
Also, it's very impressive that many exhibitors are actually named. Last name is actually Exhibitor.
Mr. Exhibitor. Yeah.
Mr. Exhibitor. You know, Don Exhibitor. Yeah.
Right. How'd you decide to go into this line of work?
Yeah. Nomen est omen, as they say in Latin.
what are you talking about?
It's like how many, strippers have names like Bubbles. And,
Yeah.
What are the odds? They could have been an architect or a surgeon.
Mr. Exhibitor.
All right. Oh, for okay, a Christmas present for me. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Jeweler actually says a guy in a raincoat.
Words. Once again, words I didn't read. Well, so we're talking about William Girdler,
William
Yeah.
Girdler.
and this is the last straight out horror film from him. Otherwise, we've covered them all. There's also
That's
this
right.
one.
There's nothing left, is there?
Anyone who is unfamiliar with William Girdler should do a double feature of Grizzly and the Manitou.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to confess that I've still yet to watch The Day of the Animals. So.
It's fun.
It
It's
is.
fun
Yeah.
watching Leslie Nielsen doing a straight roll and chewing up the scenery and
Right,
everything.
right.
He's a lot of fun.
Well, he
And
does that.
did for most of his career.
Well, Leslie Nielsen's in that other movie that he did. Was it Project Kill?
Okay.
And they were see, that was 76. Day of the Animals was 77. Leslie Nielsen, Gary Lockwood, former government assassin, flees a mind control program in the Philippines, pursued by his ex-partner, the local police, and Asian gangsters.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Grizzly is probably my favorite Jaws knockoff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's got great actors
right.
too.
It's also got one of my favorite posters. That's Neil Adams, and it's
Yes.
top shelf Neil Adams.
Yes.
The bear does not actually look anything near that scary. But that's the deceptive thing about bears. They don't look that scary. And unless they're eating you alive, in which case they're terrifying. But in real life, you see a bear in the woods.
I've seen the videos.
If it's a if it's a CGI bear like in The Revenant, you definitely want to avoid any CGI.
Yeah,
bears.
yes, for sure.
Absolutely. Real bears, a little different.
And I did watch Sheba Baby a while ago, which isn't a great film, but Pam Grier, so you got that going for it.
Rare.
It's a little on the grainy side.
Three on a
as
Meat
well.
Hook ain't great, but it's got one of my all-time favorite trailers.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh, do I
yeah.
love that trailer. Where the narrator just went into business for himself. I don't know what script they gave him, but he just tossed it out. And it's like,
Oh, and then this one we did, which had like the worst rubber mask ever.
and one of the worst posters ever. I mean, boy.
Kind of dark.
Yeah.
All right. So, what do you notice anything about this movie that says William Girdler?
No.
I did not. I would have been, but see, that's just it. Like I said earlier, if you showed somebody this and then showed them the Manitou or the Grizzly, they'd be like, "What?" But if you showed them this and 3 on a Meat Hook,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Say-
right.
it
yeah.
would be much more like, "Oh, okay." So it really is a progression. And as Bill said, a shame that Girdler died in a helicopter accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, our name star, William Marshall.
See, if to get rid of the demon, if he'd only just like come out and say, "The king of cartoons,
Yeah.
let the cartoons begin," the demon would have just like out like a shot.
There he is.
Nobody
There's the king.
messes with the king of cartoons.
No, and it's funny to me. I mean, kind of sad, but how probably most folks of a certain age know him more as the king of cartoons than they do. And Blackula is always one of those films that you tell people, listen, this is a great movie. It's called Blackula. And after they stop giggling, you're like, okay,
Right.
you got it out of your system. Seriously, it's a great movie. Is it about a black vampire? Yes. Let's just get over that hump and watch the movie. It's way better than you think it is.
One night, while I was trying to take my then brilliant girlfriend, now my brilliant wife, Abigail, or Abby, as she goes by, to see Russ Meyer's Faster, Faster, Pussycat, Kill, Kill. We arrived to discover it was sold out. Unfortunately, we were only a few blocks away from Film Forum, and I said, "Would you be into seeing a movie called Blackula?" And she gave me a look, and she said, "Sure, why not?" And we had the best time. She's not a huge horror movie person, but she loved Blackula. She enjoyed the hell out of it. And a great big part of that was that gentleman right there, Mr. William Marshall.
And I think he's the only reason we haven't seen the remake of Blackula, because you can imagine the various casting that they would do, and all of those actors are probably smart enough to know It's not going to be the same. It's not going to work, and they're going to come out looking like the second best Blackula ever. It's just you're kind of doomed.
Well, I
he
think
takes
Eddie
that-
Murphy tried to pull that off with Vampire in Brooklyn, but it didn't.
Oh
really,
yeah, that's true. That was, but unfortunately that was a riff as opposed to an actual remake. But that's true. It's iconic.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to know how good Blackula is, watch Blackula, then watch Blackenstein.
Oh my God!
Yikes.
Which remains the one blaxploitation horror film I have not seen and probably.
Oh,
well, I have that on
you'll be
have
fine.
that on Blu-ray.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it visible on Blu-ray? Because the version I saw was so dark that you could barely tell what was going on. When you could, it was stupid.
We did it.
I think that was filmed here in North Carolina. It's not something we put on the brochures, but I think that's
Well, maybe you should.
maybe we should.
I like Chad's face when I suggested that. Can you imagine North Carolina tourism brochure? Oh,
Yeah, right.
And then there's Black the Ripper, which I'm not making this up. All right, which I don't know if it exists or not. There's controversy over whether the movie was ever filmed. I think it might have been by the same guy who did Blackenstein, and then he died under mysterious circumstances. Never got to do the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I mean,
he did.
Yeah, it was getting crazy there for a bit.
It was. Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde is actually pretty good, but that's got Bernie Casey. So another case of good casting saving a shaky premise.
And if I may be allowed to slip into professor mode for a moment. Anybody who is watching this or listening to this is not really, well, blaxploitation, what? I highly recommend O.D. Henderson's Black Caesars and Foxy Cleopatras, A History of Blaxploitation Cinema, which came out just a couple of years ago. It's very good. It will tell you everything you need to know about blaxploitation films, including all of the blaxploitation horror films. It's an excellent book. Highly recommend it.
I'm looking at his William Marshall's career went clear back to 1952. And there was actually a TV series in 1953 called Harlem Detective.
Wow.
That he was
1953?
He was in 5 episodes. So
that's amazing.
That's very early.
I would kill to be able to go back in time and see him on stage doing Othello. Where I think I saw an interview where he was being interviewed by someone, and he didn't denigrate Blackula, but he was like, there's much more. I'm more into theater, and they were talking about him doing Othello, and you're like, oh yeah, I would love to see that.
Yeah, he did quite a bit of TV in the 60s. He was what's Star Trek: The Ultimate Computer? He
yes.
Yeah,
it was a great role, an example of how Star Trek was so progressive without beating your head over the top with it. He was a brilliant scientist, happened to be black. Nobody made any big deal about it because in the future we don't care about shit like that. And he was great in it. He was really usually these guest stars. It's further in the future than we are now, anyway.
Yeah, a couple of episodes of The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Boston Strangler, the movie. Yeah. Anyway,
always a pleasure to see him pop up. I wish it happened more often.
Oh, he was in Twilight's Last Gleaming. That was the Burt Lancaster thing. He was Attorney General.
Yeah, that's the Robert Aldrich. Mad General.
All righty. We love William Marshall. He does have that. His voice has that timbre, that quality to it. So we have Carol Speed. These are some other flicks she was in.
Mm-hmm.
This is absolutely ground zero of blaxploitation.
Yep. We got Ray Moore.
Yep.
The Big Bird Cage.
Birdcage. Is that one of the ones with Sid Haig in it?
Disco Godfather.
Looks like a Sid Haig movie.
It does.
I thought Carol Speed. I thought when Carol Speed was possessed by a demon, she was great.
Mm-hmm.
When we first meet her character, that whole thing where they're moving into the house, I was just like, are they intentionally making these characters so unbelievably goody two shoes just
Yeah.
so it'll be such a shock
Kinda.
when they're possessed
So
when she's
when she
possessed by
starts
the demon?
cussing, it's going to be shocking.
Yeah, exactly. Because they were like,
Wow.
it was very over the top just how goody they were positioning these characters.
She only made a couple movies after
Very
this.
soon.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why this doesn't have the visceral impact of The Exorcist, one of many reasons. It's just way more shocking to see a little girl be possessed by evil than a grown-ass woman.
That could be what they were going for with what you were talking about, Gregory.
To make her so goody-goody.
Yeah, establish.
Yeah, no, it was really, but it's also, I mean, you get why they're doing it, but it's so the writing is so painful that you can't wait for her to get possessed.
Yeah.
I was sitting there thinking like, oh God, please, this dialogue is killing me. Can we just
Dire.
get the demon?
Get Rudy Ray Moore in there. If you want some good dialogue, get Rudy Ray
That's
Moore.
right.
There
Oh
you go.
man. Okay. So, and then we have some of the demon Abby. Abby possessed.
I will say that for me, no matter how bad a horror movie is,
Mm-hmm.
well, I can't say that. There's a lot of really bad horror movies with no redeeming scenes whatsoever. But you ever notice how even some really terrible horror movies, there's one scene that's really effective, really great, or really interesting. And for me, the scene in this is when she's in the shower at the beginning of the film.
And the shadow comes in.
The demon.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's not even a human shadow. It's just this shadow behind the curtain enveloping her.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a fantastic image. And I thought, oh, this is going to be great. I was wrong. But I really, really, really love that image. And if I had to pluck one image out of here that is just like, that was very well done, very interesting, it would be that scene.
And so, yeah, these are some examples of her. She just does a great job doing that hysterical. Just hysterical. I don't know how else to describe it. Or maniacal, laughing and giggling and then low voice and then attacking the first man she comes to, making cracks about how long his dick is. And
Yeah.
When she kicks her husband in the nuts, I was disturbed, but also I laughed out loud.
Yeah, that was funny.
Some of these scenes, you wouldn't could describe this as a horror comedy, but some of these scenes I thought were very, very comic. And to whoever the actor was who she like found in the bar, who was like the assistant to the pastor, and then she takes him into the car, and soon the car is like smoking inside, and the expression on his face in a couple of those scenes was priceless. Priceless. Very, very funny.
I think that's Elliot Moffat.
Is that Elliot Moffat?
Russell.
Yeah. He is not prepared for issue.
No, he isn't. He is not.
God.
And I thought it was good that you only saw this makeup in flashes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably a really
eyebrows.
good idea.
Yeah. The editing, I think, that Bill was talking about. Again, when all hell's breaking loose, the movie kicks into gear.
And that is something they did steal again from The Exorcist. One of the coolest bits of The Exorcist was that almost subliminal flashes of, what was his name, Captain Howdy or whatever, that ghost face demon, literally in a frame. And I remember seeing it in the movie theater.
Right.
Apparently some people don't see those things as well. I usually can spot it right away whenever they have a subliminal shot. I can still see the frame, it registers, but some people, it was just, they know there's something off. It was a cool thing. It was very cool.
Their frame rate is slower than the film.
Yeah.
I know the last time I watched The Exorcist with friends who hadn't seen it, it absolutely registered. It was almost a jump scare for a couple of the people.
Good.
Yeah. Well,
Hulk smash!
did anybody recognize her husband from anything? Terry Carter.
I recognized him, but I feel like I've seen him in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he is. So he was in the Phil Silver Show.
Oh, wow.
Like
Wow.
a bunch of episodes.
Oh.
And then he was the cop in McLeod. He was McLeod's kind of liaison there in the police department.
But the
And
really
I
important one is Battlestar Galactica. I
Yeah.
did not make that connection at all.
Oh, I thought that was Bonanza.
but the reason I picked
Battlestar Galactica was Bonanza in space.
it was.
Yeah.
It was. The reason I picked the center picture for McLeod was because of who else is in it.
Is that Carl Weathers?
Michael.
What'd you say, Gregory?
Is that Carl Weathers?
Yes, Carl Weathers and Michael Pataki's leaning
Pataki,
over there.
Oh wow, look at that.
So I was like, oh, that's cool. We had some crossover there. But yeah, this guy had a long career. And then McLeod had a comeback. You know, there was, a reunion show kind of in the 80s. And by that point, Terry Carter was playing the police commissioner.
Promotion.
I liked him on Battlestar Galactica. I remember that character.
Yeah, I remember him. He was
Very good.
Hated him in this movie.
Well, again, he wasn't given a lot.
No.
He wasn't given anything. It sounded like he was making it up as he went.
He was just running around. So I want to mention a couple other people. So there's the doctor who sees her. We see him a couple times. Is played by Charles Kissinger.
Right.
He's
Classic
his
doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. His only credits are in Girdler films, and he's in every single one of them. Oh, he's not in Day of the Animals, but he's in all the other ones. He's in Manitou, Grizzly, Sheba Baby,
Kentucky Proud. Locals, all the locals who Girdler absolutely carried with him for film.
Well, and he was in. He played a character called the Fearmonger in a hosted horror movie show called Fright Night.
Oh.
In Louisville, out of Louisville.
The Fearmonger. Not to be confused with the Hate Monger, of course.
I was going to say that sounds like a Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
And then the other one, I think that there's a couple more I wanted to mention. So Juanita Moore plays Mama. I think isn't she Abby's mom?
Yeah.
She's won an Oscar.
What? Not for this role.
Or no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Nominated for an Oscar. I got her. I got one more.
Yeah, I was about to say, wait, what?
She was nominated for Imitation of Life in 1960.
Oh, okay. the Douglas Sirk Imitation of Life?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right. Wow.
Wait, did she play the mother?
I feel like she was. That actually, it's been a while since I've seen it, but that does make sense.
Damn.
I mean, the role was terrible, the performance was terrible, but the script was terrible. There's, what are you going to do?
She does. I mean,
a genius couldn't make this work.
She does fine. Juanita Moore plays Annie Johnson.
Is that the old lady who dies?
I don't know. Oh, John Gavin, Sandra Dee, Lana Turner.
I like the cops.
I think she's the mother because the daughter is trying to pass as white, right?
Yeah,
right.
The remake of Imitation of Life is great. It's very good.
So yeah, she's got like 90 some credits. She's got lots of stuff. So I kind of found that interesting. Then the other thing was, and I can't remember if we talked about this before, but in the crew we have the three Asman brothers.
The what?
I know we've talked about them before just because of the name. So the cinematographer is William Asman, Asman. So it could be Asman. They probably went for a different pronunciation.
And now I'm sure that worked out great for them.
Yeah. I bet they never got teased on the playground.
As a matter of fact, so he was cinematographer on some stuff, but then what he really did was as a cameraman, and he was cameraman for Speed, Matinee, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, The Rocketeer, Gremlins 2.
Wow.
So,
but he changed his name to Buttman on that one.
Yeah, but
well, and then his brother,
Maximus Gluteus.
His brother is Bub Asman. His real name was Henry.
Yeah, why Henry?
I would go by Bub as well. Sure.
It's like, I'm tired of people making fun of me, Henry Asman. I'm going to be Bub Asman. It's like, dude, no, that wasn't the Henry that was
okay,
the
but
problem.
this is the guy that I was thinking of.
Oh, no.
So he did he did a handful of movies as an editor, but then what he really got into was sound editing. He won 2 Academy Awards for sound editing. For Letters from Iwo Jima and American Sniper.
Oh, so he became.
And apparently, he partnered with a guy named Alan Robert Murray, who all of his nominations were shared with Alan Robert Murray. So, Eraser, that's from Schwarzenegger, Space Cowboys, Flags
Fun
of Our
movie.
Fathers, and Sully. They were nominated for all of them.
So he really made something of himself. He wasn't just a bum.
Could have been.
He wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't just a ass.
Sorry, that was a very cheeky joke. My apologies.
There you are. Yeah.
And then
a few people got it.
The third brother is John Asman, and he got into sound.
Listen to this fart.
He worked on Kronos.
Oh,
the Del Toro
the
film.
Del Toro.
movie?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see what his ranking was. It just says sound department.
Someday there needs to be a Decades of Horror, the whatever, and we can just talk about films, Totoro's films in the 90s. And
Yeah.
He's got 178 sound department credits.
Wow.
Pretty good.
So,
Del Toro? Wow.
I may be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure at some point on Letterman in the 80s, they found a real person in the Midwest whose name was Dick Asman.
Oh.
And they called him up on the show. And
wouldn't
said,
surprise me.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But of course, I just love that somebody whose name was Richard Asman would decide to go by.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Go by Dick.
Well, before it makes me feel like you know how most of our names come from what our ancestors previously did.
Sure.
How did the Asman form branch?
So
How did
there
that
was. I don't have a picture to prove it, but I live on a gravel road like 3 miles off the pavement, and there was a
proctologist?
There was a little house close to the pavement. It was the first house on the gravel. His name was Asman, and it was spelled A-S-S-M-A-N.
Wow.
And they had it proudly displayed on the mailbox.
An unfortunate decision.
Well,
we're going to get a bunch of letters from viewers now with unfortunate last names.
What about your last name?
Whatever the Asman were, many generations ago, I'm sure they weren't thinking about posterity.
Wah, wah, wah.
My mom was walking around for 2 or 3 years.
Try the veal.
With a misprint on her driver's license where they replaced the first letter of her last name with an H.
Oh.
So it was like horror.
Yeah.
That's no.
Anyway.
Wild.
Well, those are the people I wanted to mention that were in this movie that I thought were kind of interesting that you don't think about, but they're probably from Kentucky. I think they did several of his movies. All 3 brothers are like, hey, let's go make a movie.
Well, that was one of the things, reading about Girdler, some time ago, realizing that he really was somebody he was like dare I say, like Romero, who was a regional filmmaker in getting started. And he had a lot of the people in his community as part of his filmmaking.
Sure.
And brought them along from film to film.
Hey, that's what I would do. I mean, half the fun of filmmaking is getting to hang out with your friends and make movies and everything. And if someone were foolish enough to give me wads of money to make movies, I'd still be working with the same. I'd make sure there's some section in the script for a Sammy and a Tom Gore and all these other. They're going to be in the movie for sure.
I've always had a lot of admiration for filmmakers who find their crew, and that's their crew.
Yeah.
They stick with them. And carry them from project to project. I think that's great. Another sad fact that who knows if Girdler had really broken through big, as he seemed primed to do, how he could have managed to do that. But I feel like he could. Romero was able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently Carol Speed was not the first choice for Abby. They had another actress, but she was that actress, and they don't give her name, demanded a masseuse. And the budget, surprise, surprise, had no provisions for a masseuse.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. It was 1974. There were masseuses everywhere.
That's right.
Just down
Dodged
the
the bullet
street, there's
there.
a whole parlor full of nothing but masseuses. Just go down and grab one.
Low
That
budget
reminds
film-
me, Jeff, remove that message on your answer machine, would you? Just do it.
I don't even know.
I know, buddy.
Oh.
See, they dodged a bullet there because low budget filmmaking at this level is the most unglamorous, gritty, smelly thing possible. If you're thinking there's room for a personal masseuse, you're not going to have a good time on this.
Yeah, imagine one of the actors on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre asking for a masseuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Got a chainsaw.
Ms.
They
Speed
didn't
was
even get a
willing to make
shower, I don't think.
he was willing to make a women in prison movie in the Philippines. So this probably seemed like Hollywood making this, at least in the good old US of A, where we don't have leeches the size of your arm.
All he had to do was go to a cave in Indiana. That was pretty much it. Everything else was hometown.
Well, she also talked about the film being cursed on the set. She mentioned a couple of accidents and people getting sick. And then there was a huge tornado strike in that area at the time. The other people said, that those accidents, that was just normal stuff. And the tornadoes hit 10 states. So I don't know if Abby was really the focus of it.
Every movie that is about demons or exorcists or the devil, there's always stories about it being cursed. And they find every little thing that could go wrong. Listen, I accidentally drank rubbing alcohol on the set of one of my movies. I didn't blame the devil. I was just an idiot.
You could have.
Now, people who work with me know I'm fully capable of doing something as stupid
Yeah.
as
They knew you were an idiot.
The worst part is Bill drank rubbing alcohol because you know who'd left it out? The masseuse.
Yep. And that's why we never have him on the set again.
That's why no masseuses on sets. Sorry.
That's right. Yep. Nothing but trouble.
Nothing but trouble.
Yeah, so a series of tornadoes hit Louisville on April 4th, 1974, and delayed the filming.
Exactly 51 years ago today.
Oh my
Did
God.
the devil write the script? Because
Oh
that
my
would be
God.
the worst thing they could have done.
I think we're going to be cursed, right?
I hear a
Too
ghost
late.
cat.
All right. Anybody ready for
Are we wrapping up?
final comments on this?
Yeah, it sucks.
It's not that terrible. I've watched a lot worse movies.
I don't know,
That's
man.
really faint
I would
praise.
agree. I would agree with Jeff. I've seen much worse movies. If you are a completist for blaxploitation or 70s horror,
Or William Girdler.
or William Girdler, obviously, you're going to want to see Abby, but just go in with low expectations and remind yourself that most of the fun is with Carol Speed's scenes as the demon and the gravitas of William Marshall, and you'll be fine.
So
Do you know the expectations you had when you went in to see Snow White?
Yeah. Lower them.
They're lower than that. Lower those expectations.
Did you go to that?
Heck no.
Good move. So to sum it up, if you're a person who has to watch every movie made by a certain director and you've seen lots of bad movies, you'll be okay with this one.
Now, and here's the real question. If you had to rewatch this or 3 on a Meat Hook, which would you watch?
If
I'd watch
I
Three on
could
Me,
find a better version of this, I'd watch this.
Because it really is a progression, I think. He gets
Yeah.
better as he goes along.
Yeah, but I'd probably just watch the 3 on a Meat Hook trailer 30 times.
Yeah, the trailer's the best part.
All right. I think we're done.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
We're
I liked it.
finished,
I know I liked it better than Chad. I just am really interested in that stuff and
Oh, it's not that I didn't like it. I just hated it so much.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
And
There is some extremely funny scenes in this. So I just, there's some comedy gold in here if you go into
I need to
Right.
I need to
Yeah,
go back
there
and
are
listen
some
to
funny stuff.
I need to go back and listen to some of the Girdler episodes with the Black Saint on them to see, because I swear he said he liked that movie a lot and wished he could find it, but I can't remember. But he also liked Blackenstein.
But he probably saw it in the theater as a kid, right? Yeah.
That's exactly something Saint would love. That's right up his alley. A terrible movie like that. Heck yeah, he would love. He would, no doubt about it. He would love it.
Miss you, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We're still watching. All right, feedback.
Episode
139, Demon Witch Child from Robert Baker, and that was that's Amando Diosaurus, right?
Yep.
That's Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Do you want me to do this one, Jeff?
I haven't. I need to look down. Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead, Gregory.
Okay. Robert Baker says on Demon Witch Child, episode 139, since I recently picked up the new Vinegar Syndrome Spanish Blu-ray movie set that includes Demon Witch Child, Vampire's Night Orgy, and Curse of the Devil, I wanted to answer some things you guys wondered on this episode. This is a pristine print, of course, and includes the original Spanish language version in addition to the dub. And I can say they definitely messed up with the dubbing on this one. The original language version is a big improvement over the English dub, I thought. I found myself liking it better because the lines aren't so much over the top and cheesy, especially the little girl once possessed by the witch. I could see myself revisiting this one, but will never watch the English version probably ever again, unless I just want a good laugh. It's still an Exorcist ripoff to be sure, but much more bearable. I re-listened to this episode after I got the set and couldn't resist dropping a feedback once I saw this film the way it was intended.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Robert.
An interesting point. I mean, really, we're criticizing scripts based on dubbing that may have nothing to do with what the filmmaker.
Well, and we've pretty much figured that out, I think, in terms of some of the European horror films. They do such goofy things when they try to make the translation match the lips movements. It just does such goofy stuff.
Yeah,
they just come out with the weirdest things. And you know, who was it brought this up? I think it was Daphne, and I can't even remember the name of it, but there was a documentary about dubbers in different countries, and like I think it was I'm George Clooney or something like that. And they found like 8 different guys that did George Clooney in different countries, and they became famous. It's like a big deal there to be a good dubber. So anyway, it's too bad we didn't figure that out. We just expect everybody to do English.
And you know, that criticism is probably a thing of the past, because now they have a program out that uses AI to literally change your lip movement so that it can match the dubbing.
Oh, just stay away. Stay away.
AI.
Yeah.
Do that. All right. Well, Bill, this must be for you. The Golden Voyage of Sinbad 173.
Short and sweet from Anthony Layton 4754. Tom Baker was great as the villain. Yes, he was.
Yep.
Yes, he was.
He was having a good time, and he made you enjoy it. Harryhausen, the characters in a Harryhausen movie are usually nothing to get excited about or think about or remember, but he was an excellent villain.
Okay, then where are we at? Chad, Lust for a Vampire 196 from Joey Johnson.
Joey says, Lust for a Vampire isn't the best Constantine. Wait a minute. How does he spell in that? Lust for a Vampire. It ruined my whole shit there.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. I'll read it how it's written. Lust for a Vampire is the best. I'm sure. Is he trying to say of the Karnstein trilogy?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Lust for a Vampire is the best of the Karnstein trilogy, and it's my favorite Hammer film.
No offense, Joey, but you've been drinking.
Well, what's your opinion there, Bill?
It's just wow.
Well,
if you wanted to say it was the best of the Karnstein trilogy, I'd be like, maybe you saw it at a good time in your life. But to be so bold,
Twins of
say
Evil,
it's the best Hammer. Twins of Evil is way better than Lust for Vampire, as is Vampire Lovers, as is Indian head signal at the end of a UHF TV station. I mean, there's just nothing worse.
Hey, Joey, we love you. So
Yeah, we love you, Joey. Yeah. Even if
It's
you're
okay,
wrong.
Joey. My favorite hammer is the Gorgon, and everybody laughs because of
I love the Gorgon. No, the
I
Gorgon.
love the Gorgon too, but the Gorgon remains deeply flawed.
Well, there is that one problem
There is
with
that
the
one
Gorgon.
big, huge problem.
Yeah, there is
But,
that just one little.
It's a big problem, but I love the Gorgon. So.
Sure.
All right, then on episode 236, the Antichrist, Rossano Macchioni, Gregory.
Oh, Alida Valley was half Italian and German origin, born in Pola, the stage name. Altenberger Frin, in the end of a long career, is made thriller, horror movie with Argento, Bava, Baruti, Di Martino, Keanu. But the first horror in the 1960 Eye Without Face. In USA, The Third Man, The Paradine Case. And great Italian directors like Luchino Visconti, Bertolucci, Pasolini, Antonioni. She briefly abandoned her career, however, in 1943, refusing to appear in what she considered fascist propaganda.
I added that.
Yes, I see that because it's written in proper English.
So Rosanna, I can't remember if this was one he wrote in English or not, but Rossano, sometimes his comments are in Italian. And have to run them through Google Translate and then try to make sense of them because the Google Translate isn't,
If I'm not mistaken, Alida Valley was also, of course, in The Third Man.
Yes.
Which
and
is my favorite films of all time.
A great.
You're being funny though, right? In USA.
I'm sorry.
When you read in USA.
In USA, The Third Man. Yes, I was being funny.
Okay.
Yes.
Just
well, in USA doesn't make sense either because The Third Man was a British film.
Okay. The Paradigm Case, was that British?
No, The Paradigm Case was Hitchcock in his late 40s Hollywood era. It's one of those Hitchcock movies that he made a couple of movies in a row in the late 40s, The Paradigm Case and Under Capricorn, that were bombs. And nobody ever talks about them when they talk about Hitchcock, even though they have their interest to the Hitchcock completist.
I like Paradigm Case. It's okay.
I mean, but then around it is things like Spellbound.
Right,
sure.
Right. One of the classics.
Yeah.
And lastly, the Antichrist, episode 236 from Lisa LI1JD. Bill?
Lisa says, "Thank you guys for all the time you put into watching the movies and reviewing them. I am a classic and 70s kind of girl, and I get so much happiness out of these reviews. And that's what we have always strived for, to make classic 70s kind of girls happy, and we seldom pulled it off. But so it's good to hear."
Yeah.
Someone put me out of my misery and tell me whether that is Whitney singing the tagline song. It's got to be close. It's our very own Crystal Cleveland.
Yes, Crystal wrote, produced, and sang that.
She's on our 80s podcast.
She's on 80s. I mentioned it in 80s.
And then every time it's played on 80s, she critiques herself.
Yeah,
exactly.
But Whitney, I think could. She's got a great.
Yeah, Whitney can sing too. Yeah,
we were smart enough to surround ourselves with talented women. Can't wait for the next installments. Also, Jerry did a great job filling in for Doc. Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did.
We did 2 Spanish and 1 Italian movie.
Boy, did I stuff
no deal. Sorry.
Spicy.
Thank you, Lisa. We really appreciate that. That comment about you get so much happiness that fills my heart. It makes me feel good.
Does.
So, and thank you, Rossano, and Joey, and Anthony, and Robert Baker, of course. All right. Well, there's lots of ways to stay in touch with us. You can leave comments on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, or you can send comments to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com. But we check them all. We tried to read everything, and we really love when you catch stuff that we didn't catch, or added information that we didn't have time for, maybe, or even what your experience was watching the film. And you love Chad doing taglines, and you wish we would make more up so you'd have more to read every day.
Yeah, you try it and see what happens.
But please, we love feedback. All right. So every 2 weeks, we do a new episode on Decades for the 1970s. Next up is one picked by Gregory. I didn't type it in there, but fire away, Gregory.
Yes. So I'm very happy to be pinch hitting while Doc is away for the next few episodes of 70s. I feel like Don Rickles holding the desk down for Johnny in the 70s. And since in the rotation it was going to be Doc's pick next, it falls to me, and I'm going to pick one of my all-time favorite horror movies from the 70s. One of my all-time favorite horror movies in general, and that would be Phantasm from 1979.
Don Coscarelli.
Finally, something I don't have to read or doesn't suck.
And it was only
Angus
done once before, very early on, by Doc and Santos.
And I think maybe Thomas might have been with him on that. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but it was episode 29, I think.
Episode 29. And
But we're all different people.
You're all different people. And this is episode what? It's going to be episode what? The next episode?
202.
202.
No, 239.
Oh,
239.
wow.
39. There is so much Decades of Horror for you,
Mhm.
maybe watching this for the first time, God help you, to dive into in the archives. So.
And it's video, so you can not only, you might have fun with us, but you can always laugh at the way we look too, or the way I look.
Nobody's laughing at how I look. I'll tell you that much.
So yes, Phantasm. Greatly looking forward to it. I love having an excuse to watch Phantasm again. And I will
that's awesome. That's a great
very
pick.
obnoxious about it next time we see each other. So.
That will be a fun one. All right. Well, thanks to three of you. We had to reschedule this a couple times, once for my traveling and once for other conflicts, and I appreciate it. And
No worries.
Still, this will be what is today, the 4th? This will go live on the 9th. So
Wow.
There you have it.
It's like the Pony Express.
Yeah, and talk about graphics. I was trying to find a feature image for this. There's nothing that looks worth a.
Yeah.
So it may just be a poster on the poster,
Which I mean, that's fine. It's a great poster.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Mhm.
All right, everybody. Say good night.
Good night.
Hi, everybody.
Good night.
Oh, wait. I almost did the wrong thing.
Again.
Good night.